natively in HTML, then you need to include this .html. Otherwise, your machine or your computer won't understand what sort of language you're referring to. Likewise, if you are preferring to include a CSS styling page or a CSS formatting page for your HTML page, then you need to place a name. This is the file name. It's just like this. I have placed my file into CSS file into a CSS folder. So you can see this CSS folder, and I have placed the file inside this folder. So I have named the file basic webpage.css. Now remember that anything that comes after this dot is referred to as the extension. So the reason behind including an extension to any file is that if we do not include an extension, our computer won't understand what sort of file is that or what sort of language are you using in that file. So because we're using a CSS, we're using a cascading styling sheet language, it's a declarative language, we need to include the extension of .css. When we want to use the language of HTML, we can write .htm or .html. You can choose any one from them, HTML or HTML, both are correct. Now, because we are planning to use the HTML5 syntaxes, we need to use a declarator, a doctype perhaps. So a doctype looks something like this. If you're planning to use HTML5, remember that it starts with an opening angle bracket with an exclamation mark. Then in capital letters, you need to write doctype and followed by small HTML in uppercase. And remember that you must always enclose every HTML element or every HTML tags with the ending angle bracket. These two languages perhaps look different in separate ways. So these are the bare bones for a web page. So as I was telling you, you can include the styling even inside your HTML page. It's really simple, but the convention is that you can do the same thing here. You can just copy up these styles. Suppose let me copy the styles for the body part and the header part. Let me copy it and let me paste it here. So let's fix the white spaces. I guess it looks quite messed up. Okay, yeah, perfect. It's perfectly fine. So even if you cut off this part, your page will still work. So every HTML page, every web page, if you look carefully, this is a web page with an extension. You can look carefully that it has the extension of .html, so it's a web page. And every web page needs to start with two major tags. So these are called tags in HTML's terminology. A tag, you will always recognize a tag whenever you see an opening angle bracket followed by a name and a closing angle bracket. So you'll always see that HTML tags have a format of using angle brackets, opening and closing angle brackets, and you'll also see that there is a corresponding ending tag or ending element at the end. So the reason behind using this ending tag is that it's telling the compiler, it's telling the server perhaps, whenever you run a web page on a web server, it will tell the web server that the head section of an HTML page is starting from here. Place everything that I've placed in the head section inside the page, and then whenever I finish off you will always realize that whenever I finish off putting all the elements inside the head tag, I will always use something like this. So an ending tag will always start with an opening angle bracket followed by a forward slash and then the name, the same name that you used in here. So because this is a head part, we are using head, the HTML element for head, and we are also using the corresponding name of it, the same name in the ending tag, and it also follows the same format. The difference lies in using the forward slash. So a tag that is opening, an opening tag inside HTML will always will never have the forward slash, but a tag that is going to end that the opening element will always have a forward slash. So you need to remember that. So this entire thing forms the head section of your HTML page. Let's erase this off. So let me discuss one more thing about this style. The convention is to use style sheets. So this is also called a style sheet. Sorry for that. So this style sheet, whenever you see a page, whenever you see a code that, whenever you see a file that ends with a .css extension, you will always understand that this entire thing is a style sheet. It also has the name of style sheet. So whenever you see something like this, a link, you won't understand this entire thing right now, but it's a link. So this link tag, what it's doing, it's looking at the file system. So let me show you the file system. You might not understand clearly right now. So okay, if you look carefully, I have placed my basic webpage.html inside the folder called samples, and then inside that samples folder I have created two more additional subfolders. One is known as the CSS, the other one is known as the image folder. So in the CSS folder, I'm going to place all of the style sheets or all of the CSS files. I'm going to place all of the style sheets, and inside this image folder, I'm going to place all the images that I'm going to use on my web page. And this is going to be the the web page that I'm going to edit. Usually you will find web pages will have the opening, or the home page will usually have a name like this. It won't have a custom name. It usually has the name of let me rename this, index. It will usually have a name called index.html. So let's open this up. So this is no more valid. Let's close this. Yep, okay. So here we go. If you look carefully, this index.html, this is the page. This index.html needs to have stylings. If you take away all of this, let's cut this off and let's save this page. Okay, let's save this page and let's open this up on our web browser. If you look at this page carefully, this is just the bare bones, or it's just the skeleton of the page. You see, we have a large image. The heading is larger than the previous one. If you look at this, it looks more organized, and the image is quite smaller than the usual web page that we are looking at. So we don't even have a background color. We don't even have a proper spacing in between our paragraph, and it looks quite messy. So to provide a styling or formatting for our HTML page, we obviously need to have some sort of styling provided by CSS. Now, those links, let's paste them back. Now those links, this link tag